Hi, this is my quote link for Module 3, CMST 320. My Chapter 3 quotes are: use text messages that are not confidential, private, or potentially embarrassing. You never know when someone might be looking over your shoulder, or over the shoulder of the person reading your text, or your message is sent to the wrong person. The author is reminding us how easy it is to slip into unprofessional communication, or worse, make a mistake like sending a text to the wrong recipient. I relate to this because I personally have sent texts to friends and family that were not intended, that they were not intended for. And sometimes what I've said in the text hurts someone else's feelings. It's usually between my mom or my brother. That is the worst feeling. Although I've never made this mistake at work, I realize how easily that sort of thing could happen, especially nowadays when so many people communicate with each other in text. My second quote: someone who presumes to tell us what's good for us is likely to cause us to feel defensive and not supported. And the author is letting us know that most people don't like the feeling of being controlled. And I think that's obvious to most people, but I grew up with a very controlling mother, and I can be very controlling, and I know it's hard to let go of at work, and it's something you have to learn to not try to act like you know everything about everybody and what's good for them, what they should do, what doctors they should see, those sorts of things. To use an example, I had a supervisor a few years back, and she was really nice to me. Allowed me to work fairly autonomously. However, she could be very rigid and controlling with others that she did not have the same rapport with. And if you'd gotten on her bad side or you made mistakes, she wouldn't trust you to do a good job, and she would micromanage and kind of follow you around and chase you around. She did this in particular with one nurse, and they never really had a good relationship. So it doesn't make a department have very good morale when you try to control them. And people are just defensive, I think, by nature when they are treated that way. So Chapter 4 quotes: most of our communication training is focused on developing reading and writing competencies, and little, if any, attention is focused on developing listening and speaking competencies. The author is trying to tell us that we should all have more education and training on how to listen and respond effectively. And I have to agree. I think that for some of us, we can be great listeners and maybe not great at responding. And some of us can be very proficient at responding. And if we have done a good job of listening, but if we haven't, then what happens is you respond ineffectively. Which leads me to my next quote, really, which is listen and respond thoughtfully to others, which is Principle 4 of Communication in our Revel textbook. And these two quotes really speak to me, and I can relate to them on so many levels, because often, and this has happened to me both ways, where I've been the person telling the important information or I've been receiving the important information. And the information might be very important to them. And if we respond in a shallow and unthoughtful way, it can be very hurtful to those relationships. And especially at work, when your communication is limited and it's only usually during the times that you're at work. Figuring out the best way to respond to a varied or emotionally charged speaker can be difficult, but I think it's really an important skill to learn. Even especially if it's happened to you and you felt like, that was a weird response, I just said I was getting a divorce or something, and people are like so busy thinking about what's next, that we don't slow down. And I'm definitely guilty of not slowing down and being an attentive listener. So those are my quotes. Thank you. Have a good night or day.